Okay, we are recording now. And challenge 4.5.4, I'll flip over to that in a moment. 4.5. And I'm betting it's the last one. Yes, it is. And let me start screencasting that. Okay, I'll make that bigger. All right, write an expression that prints, you must be rich if the variables young and famous are both true. Okay. Can you articulate what was getting in your way? Did you have a particular confusion?
So what I did was if young and then the double equals true and famous double equals true, but then like it didn't work. So I'm not sure what I did wrong.
Okay. So let's see. So you're saying you did something like this. You tell me if I get it right or wrong. Did you do that, or were there some quotes?
I put the trues in quotes.
Okay. And I can do that too. And let's see what happens. Okay. Okay, so true and true seems to have failed. So I'm wondering if indeed they were hoping that you would leave the quotes out. Let's see what happens there. I guess that's what it was.
Okay,
now
thank you.
Yeah, you're quite welcome. Yeah, this one is kind of confusing. I can see that because on lines 1 and 2, they're putting true in quotes and they're looking for the Python version of trueness and falseness. Oh, I see what they're doing. Okay. Yeah. So input is going to return the string true. And then there's the double equals to the string true. And if the string true equals the string true, then look, you see the whole thing here is in parentheses. So that is one full expression. If the expression is true, then young gets true. So yeah, there's the conversion here. That double equals is doing a conversion from the string to actually being true. So input is tested against the string. And if they're equal, then you get the Python true without the quotes. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. So more questions for review. You can go all the way back to January something, whenever our adventure started.
2 questions.
I'd love to hear them.
One is for challenge 4.2.4.
All right. And 4.2. Now I guess it's the last one. 0.4. Yep.
Yes, I was able to pass the first test, but I could not do all of them.
Okay. All right. So write an if else with multiple branches. Ooh, sounds scary. If the year is 2101 or later, print distant future without the quotes. Otherwise, if the year is 2001 or greater, print 21st century. Otherwise, if it's 1901 or greater, 20th century. Else, gosh, this is so boring. But you got to do it because I said you got to do it. Okay, so if the year is greater than or equal to 2101, which I suppose could be greater than 2100, then print distant future, and close that. Okay, so elif year is greater than 2000. Print and 21st century. If year is greater than 1900, print 20th century, and else print long ago. Now, something like this, not only do you have to get the syntax right, but there also is an ordering. So when you get to past the if, the elifs all happen in a sequence so that it's eliminating any possible doubling or duplication. For example, if the first test you did was 1900, then 2300 also satisfies greater than 1900. Whereas the desired effect is it would only print distant future. But instead, you'd get 20th century if 1900 were first. So that has to be the correct ordering in addition to the correct syntax. Okay. Was that a sufficient explanation for your first question?
Yes.
All
Next
right.
question I have is the very last challenge ever, 4.9.3.
4.9 is the last challenge ever. Okay.
And this I could not understand no matter what I did.
All right. Using the conditional expression. Well, the conditional expression. So the conditional expression is a way of making a simple if else into an expression. So the if statement is a statement. And so I couldn't include an if statement here, right? Can't do that. So the conditional expression is a way of making a simple if statement, if else, into an expression so that it can be put onto a line of Python. And you know what? There's something very similar to this in Excel. Are you familiar with Excel, Colin?
Yes.
Okay, so in fact, so in Excel, you can assign the a cell with the output of an if statement. And that's just like using the conditional expression. So okay, if you deal with as many languages as I do, then you just have to refresh your memory once in a while of things like this. So there's the true, then the if. Okay, got it. All right, so here we are. Increments num users if update direction is 3. Otherwise, it decrements. Okay. So the conditional, so the true part is the increment if the update direction is 3. Okay, so num users plus 1 if, this is weird, num update direction, sorry, update direction equals 3, else num users minus 1. Yeah, they really packed 11 pounds of nails in a 10-pound bag in this one. Okay, so the way to understand this once again is the first part is an expression whose value is assigned if the if part is true. Otherwise, the last expression is assigned or used.
Wait, I tried typing that in and it said test aborted.
Okay, do look it over carefully.
Users. Users equals users plus 1 if update direction.
So for these conditional expressions, you don't need to put a colon at the end because you're not like printing anything.
It's not actually the if statement. So the colons introduce blocks of code. And this is the conditional expression you can't have, you're not allowed to have a block of code. And that also is a differentiation between an actual if statement and the conditional expression. Okay, so you notice how because you can't have a block of code, the conditional expression is very limited.
All right, I got it now. I just spelled direction wrong.
Oh gosh, I just thought of a terrible response to that. And not that I've ever heard this band, but I was thought of saying, well, you know, Colin, there's only one direction. So apparently that's a band. I've never heard them.
That is a band. And it was a trend back when I was like 12.
Yeah, well, I guess I missed that trend. Yep. Okay, other questions?
Not necessarily, but I do have the comment that I am very impressed with these closed captions. Watching it watching it like go through as it registers more sounds, it'll sometimes predict part of a word and then it'll adjust it as it realizes, oh, that's not what they're saying.
Yep. I wonder how it will do is in other classes where I talk more technical jargon.
Yeah, sometimes it has bloopers. Like with input num users, it usually says num NUMB.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But yeah.
And UMB. Okay. All right. Well, this feature of Zoom was recently enabled on campus. Given that it took enabling, I'm sure it's an extra cost feature that campus felt was worth the added cost. I know for sure that you folks are worth it. So I guess campus does too. Other questions, please?
I have one. It's 4.5.2. I don't know why. I don't know why, but this one I just could not get. I got the first test, but I just couldn't pass all of them.
All right. Okay, so write an expression using Boolean operators that prints special number if special num is minus 99 or 0 or 44. Okay, so well, Ooh, let's do it a few ways. Yeah, yeah, it sounds like fun. So we could do it this way. Special num equals minus 99, or special num equals 0, or special num equals 44. Let's try that. Okay. So I'll give you a moment to digest this, and you let me know when it's ready. We're ready to move on.
I just accidentally put and for one of them instead of or, so that's probably why.
Yep. So let's try it a different way, because that's so much typing. Let's, on the fly, we make it a list. And then, what do you think of that? Yeah, let's try that. Woohoo! Okay. So does this one resonate with you as well?
Yes.
Good. Okay, other questions? Review?
Yeah, I guess it's a good idea to ask about for loops, even though we've done it a bunch of times.
That's fine with me. I'm happy to go over it as many times as you like.
Okay.
All right. Do you have something in mind?
I played around with a couple different, trying to make it count, because I know that last time you were like, yes, it's use a for loop, but I can't get it to count. But that might just also be part of, I'm not quite sure how to use that fancy exit thing.
Yeah, we'll exit the exit
The
statement.
fancy, no, not the exit statement, the fancy 1970s clear the board.
Oh, that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's just print. So let's see. How can we? All right. So let's see. For some counter in a range going to a big number. And could you read to me the value that goes inside the print statements, the escape sequences?
Yeah, just a second. I don't know.
All right.
In here.
So let's see if we go to projects,
Yep.
and I think it's
Okay.
P2, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah, I got it. It's print, and then one quotation backslash 033.
Okay, 033, yep.
Open bracket,
Yep.
1 semicolon, 1 capital H.
It's all coming back to me. So
One.
this says go to position the cursor at row 1, line 1. Okay. And then the next one would be the erase. 033 bracket, and what comes next? J?
Open bracket 2J.
2J. Okay. And then finally, yeah?
both of them have a comma end quotations
Right,
in them.
right. Okay. Okay, so this is not going to be very pretty. Let's see if I hit run, that'll use main, so I'll do it here. Python and in class.py. Yeah, that's not too pretty.
Ah,
And judging by the way the counters are incrementing, it's going to take a while.
gotcha.
Okay, now, if we did this on our own computer rather than over the web, it would be very, very fast. Let me see if it'll be extremely fast. The reason it was going slowly is because it's over the web. Okay, does this help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Yep.
But are
So
you saying
these-
that because we're using Replit instead of like just Python, it would run faster on Python?
Yes, it would run way, way faster. Let me see if I can't demonstrate that for you. So I'll copy this and I'll switch in a moment. I'll switch in a moment. I understand I'm not broadcasting the right screen, just setting things up. All right, and okay, so share the terminal. Okay, so Python 3 foo.py. You can see that's quite a bit
Oh,
faster.
wow. Yeah. And then if we didn't have that escape fancy code thing, then it would just write the happy value of the counter is a bunch of times.
Yeah, well, a million times.
Yeah. It's
Right.
because we have it deleting all the stuff that it's only the number.
Exactly.
Okay.
There.
I got a question that I don't know if it will make sense to anyone because I don't know if it's happening on anyone's Replit but mine. But do you know how when you run it, it kind of deletes itself backwards?
Oh, yeah. So I saw that. That is an optical illusion.
Yeah, what made it do that? Which line made it do that?
I'm saying that there's no code in here to do that, to delete it backwards. It's sort of like, you know, when you see a propeller that seems to be standing still, but you know that it's spinning, or a helicopter blades look like they're standing still, but you know obviously that they're not because the helicopter hasn't fallen from the sky. That's something known as temporal aliasing. And what you were seeing is was an optical illusion.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you play video games?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this specifically for me or everyone?
Well, it was for you because you asked the question, but it is for everyone because I can give you another example of temporal aliasing. You know, video games, in order to get smooth animation, use a technique called double buffering. And if it didn't have double buffering, then you'd see some tearing. Have you ever seen, like, on part of the screen, your object will be here, and then on part of the screen, it's here. But there's a break right in the middle of the screen. That would be also temporal aliasing. Okay. Sarah, your sneeze showed up as a word in my closed captioning.
What?
With my wife walking by. No, that was my wife, Sarah.
Oh, okay.
So out of the room, Lily. Go on. I can't take 5 hours of you begging for a treat. Okay, so other questions, please.
Real questions, right? Because I could go down a rabbit hole asking about temporal aliasing, but
Okay, well, you know, as you drive by a picket fence, it's another example. Yeah.
but my thought is just with what you said before with the video games, that is that an intentional thing that they're trying to take advantage of to make it appear better? That sometimes you see through it?
That's yeah, it just means that they use single buffering instead of double buffering.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there are two kinds of aliasing in the universe. There's spatial aliasing and temporal aliasing. The word alias, of course, means some type of error. You know, mistaking one thing for another. Okay, so other questions about the book or review of classwork? Let's open it up to questions about your project. Right now, you have a project that is due on the 15th. Okay. And that's the project of counting the words, being able to identify how many words, how many times a particular word was used in the book Frankenstein. Anybody?
So when you say like a particular word, like you mean every word? Like how many times it pops up each time?
Yeah. Let's see if I can find. I'm pretty sure I can find easily. Give me a moment. And where am I? Okay, oops, I didn't actually grab that from the internet. Let me just do that right now. I don't have it on this machine. Okay. Count words with dictionary. All right. I'll have it for you and I'll be able to demonstrate it in just a moment. Okay, so I can demonstrate. Okay, and let's see, I've got Python 3 for me, word count, and enter a word to find the 4371. And notice that it's case insensitive. You have to code that yourself. How about so how many times did Mary Shelley wax lyrical about marshmallows? Alas, none, no times. Okay, so what's that?
We learned how to have it have it identify words that we've learned how to make them all lowercase last time.
Mm-hmm.
We're supposed to, is it a different way to make them both uppercase and lowercase to recognize it?
Oh, well, yeah, the straightforward way of accomplishing that to being case insensitive is to squash all strings to one case or the other. So I've squashed all of the text in the file to lowercase, and then after receiving the input from the user of a word to search, I squash that too.
Ah,
Right.
okay.
Okay, so there was a question about the project. Am I answering it?
Yes.
Okay. So yeah, when you run Python on your own computer, it's really, really fast. It's a lot slower on the Replit. Okay, any other questions about the project? Okay, now, a handy thing, by the way, is there is sample output in the spec. Let's go find some sample output. So since we're all working with the same file, you can use this sample output as a test of your code. You should get exactly the same answers that I do. So if you type in the, you should get 4371. And if you do, you know your code's working. Okay. Okay. So any other questions about the project? Okay. Then I'd like to remind you or let you know perhaps that I have scheduled a midterm. Let's take a look. And all right, so the midterm will be on February 23. Okay. And the review day for the midterm is on the 18th. So let's talk a moment about this review day. It's up to you to come with review questions. I'm not going to lead the review. I don't know what it is that you will need to review, so it's got to come from you. Okay, so I can't guess what it is that you'll have some confusion about. So I'm depending upon you to introspect, think about what are you strong at, what are you weak at, and ask questions. Okay. The midterm itself will be online. It will be multiple choice and administered through Schoology. All righty. Okay. Next thing I want to remind you of is chapter 3 is due tonight. And wait a minute, chapter 4 is, yeah, chapter 4 is due tonight. Project 3 is due next week. Who's Jeff? I don't know who Jeff is. Okay. All right, so let's get on to some new knowledge. And we're going to transition from using just raw files, like raw text files, like we've been doing for the last week or so. Does it have a cough discriminator? Now that's cool. You should be impressed by that. Okay, so we've been looking at reading text files. Uh, I'd like to transition to turning those text files into processing CSV files. CSV files, the CSV stands for comma, separated values. And this is by far the most common data format in the universe, parts of the universe that we're aware of anyway. And you've seen it, you've probably seen it before. The comma separated value would be something like A, comma, B, comma, C. Now, it's not strictly necessary that it be a comma. Sometimes it's tabs. So it might be A, tab, B, tab, C. And also sometimes the values might be themselves surrounded with quotes. Okay, so that's also a variant of comma separated values. Interestingly, Excel will read comma separated value files as if they were spreadsheets. And Excel will export spreadsheets into comma separated values. So chances are in your major, you will have seen or dealt with or will have to deal with comma separated values. So it's really, really helpful for us to get to know how to use them. So I would like to put a link in the chat, and it is a file. Okay, I'm almost there. Okay, and now go to the chat. Okay, here comes the link. Okay, so click on that link. And it will download a file called studata.csv. All right, is everybody meeting with success on having that file download? Okay, now you know how to, I'm going to do that myself. And it's downloaded for me. And you know how to get the file into Replit. So upload file, 3 vertical dots, upload file, and go to your downloads folder and find the file and choose for upload, and there it is. So let's take a peek at what it actually looks like. So I wrote a program to randomly generate as many student records as I want. They're fake, of course. Everybody, can anybody tell me why I chose Huxley.edu? This is a liberal arts college, after all. Unfortunately, there is a real Huxley.edu. I'm not referring to the real one. Okay, let me just take a wild guess here and find Huxley College, Marx Brothers. It's a film called Horse Feathers. So I encourage you to watch that. It's a pretty funny movie. Okay, anybody familiar with the Marx Brothers? Okay, I'll take that as a no.
Excuse me, Professor.
Yeah?
I apologize for interrupting, but I was just gonna ask because I couldn't find the recent file that you guys just downloaded. Can you show me where that is?
Sure. I will. So you just arrived in the session, in the Zoom call?
No, I just missed this part.
Okay.
Again, I
So
apologize.
it's in the chat. So open up the chat and click on the link. All right, is that working for you now?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Good, good. Okay, so what you see here looks like student records. There's a student ID in the first column, a last name, a first name, a gender, an email address, academic level, junior, senior, sophomore, freshman. Then the number of credits that you have succeeded in completing, and then your GPA, and then your major. Wow, Carthage College has a major called MUT. What's that, music theory, something? I'm guessing. Okay, so actually the majors are all from the official list of majors at Carthage. So that's real, but the people are not. So what I'd like to show you is how do you parse this using Python? Okay, so before we get there, let's learn a little bit more about what can go wrong with files. Okay, now in a previous class, I said I have not shown you how to deal with failures in opening a file. So today we're going to learn that. So let's say input file, and this name could be anything I want, equals open. And here's a file that doesn't exist. So I'm going to run this program. I guess it's left me to do it over again. Okay, so that's a crash, actually. So we need a way of dealing with the potential for there to be an error that comes up while opening a file. We don't, just because we have a file that we can't get to, we couldn't find, we didn't have permission to open, shouldn't cause the program to crash. Okay, so can everybody duplicate this error in Replit? Good. All right. So what I'm going to introduce you to is this notion of exceptions and handling exceptions. Okay. And watch what I do here. So I'm going to use a new to you keyword, try, and that introduces some arbitrary block of statements. And I'll say print the file opened. And now here comes another new keyword, except. So if there's an exception, and in particular, what kind of exception? Well, I'm going to go right here. You see that down on the other side, file not found error. So that's the exception that I want to handle. File not found error, a block of statements. And then the file did not open, but no crash. Okay, let's run that. And now the crash was avoided because, and this is a technical term, you caught the error. So there are hundreds of different exceptions. You can even create your own exceptions. A reasonable way to figure out which exceptions you should catch is every time, whenever you get a crash, note what the error is. And that's probably a good sign that you should handle it as an exception. Okay. Questions about exceptions?
Mine is not letting me run that.
Can you be more verbose about that? You can share your screen if you want to.
Yeah, I'll share it.
Okie dokie, it means I'll stop sharing. Aha, okay. Well, line 5 is indented to the same level as the block of code inside the try. So remove that indent. There you go. Give it a try.
Okay,
There you
thank you.
go. You're welcome. Milo, do you have a question?
No, that's sign language applause.
Ah, okay.
Yep.
All right. So let's go back to my browser. All right. Now, something else that I'd like to demonstrate is another way of opening a file. And so the way that we've learned so far was this. And after the file is open, you could work with the file. And then at the end of working with it, you need to close it. Okay. This won't work, obviously, because let me change the name of the file. So what was the thing that I just opened? Just studata.csv. So studata.csv. So this should work. Okay, and it did. But the point I'm making is that you open the file explicitly and then you explicitly close the file. Now, sometimes, usually you'll remember to do that, but there's a potential that you don't. So I'd like to show you something else, a different way of dealing with this, and that's using the Python with. So with, open the file as input file. Then you can work with the file. And when you get here, the file is already closed automatically. So using the with statement, you're creating a block of code where the open file exists. And as soon as that block of code exits, the file is closed automatically. All right, let's try that. Okay. So when can you use this sort of thing, the with statement? Well, when your usage of the file is very localized, all in one spot, using the with phrasing of the file open is convenient, and it guarantees that the file will be closed. Okay. Any questions? So do me the courtesy of saying import CSV. Like I said, Python's got a module for everything. Okay. And let's also practice one more time using exceptions. So try, that means this gets indented. And this will get indented. That's part of the try block. And let's put in the exception block. Except file not found error. Okay, so let's make sure this still works. Good, still works, good. Let's just check, let's make a bad file name here. Make sure that works. The file is not found, good. So now I'm ready to convert how I interpret this file from raw text into CSV. And it's really, really straightforward. So I'm going to call a reader, CSV reader, CSV.reader. That's not particularly inventive, imaginative. But what I'm going to do is inside the parenthesis here, I'm going to give the CSV reader access to my open file. And the reader, this one, is going to act as a filter for the reading the file. So let me get rid of that. And for a row in the reader, print the row. And you'll probably, when you try to run this, you'll probably want to use Control-C to break it because there's 3,000 lines in there. So let's try running it. And Control-C. So notice what it did. The CSV package has given us the ability to, instead of reading raw strings and with raw lines, it's giving us instead the ability to read a row at a time where the reader has already broken apart all the individual fields in the commas. So we've got, let's see, so row sub 0. Let's just try that. And that's all the student IDs. About row 0 and row 1. So that's the last names and the student IDs. So let's bring up the file. Can I have more than one file open at once? I guess not. So tell you what, why don't we make this will be first exercise, so do this in class right now. Why don't we make a set of the last names? Okay, and then we'll print. This is identical to a project we did last week in class. And then we'll print how many last names were there in the student records. So how would I create a set? An empty set?
Value, yeah, last names equals set parentheses.
Good, good. And we're interested in the last name, so that would be row sub 1. Row sub 1. No, row sub 1. There we go. Okay. You might find it useful to do something like this. Last name equals 1. And that way, instead of row with a number in it, this makes a lot more, this is a lot more understandable. Okay, and we'll want to add that to the set. So last names dot add. Notice I put an exit into the exception because if the exception does happen, I want to stop the program. So if I get here, if we get here, the file was read and the set was assembled. So how do I figure out how many last names are in the set? Anybody?
You could use the length function.
That's correct. Okay, so this really is identical to an exercise we did in class last week. So let's see, the length of last names. All right, let's try that. Okay, so out of the entire file, there are only 954 unique last names. Okay, but now let's bring the CSV new knowledge and change this exercise in class to be a lot more like Project 3, where the goal is to count the last names. So I should be able to count, you know, that there were 371 Smiths, that sort of thing. So instead of a set, what should I use? Anybody?
A dictionary?
That's right. Okay, and an empty dictionary is just open brace and close brace. All right, so how can I count the number of times a last name shows up? And this is the part that would be the same as Project 3. Except Project 3 is not using CSV files. Anybody? Well, let's try this. Last names and row. Which part of the row? The last name. Plus equals 1. Okay, is that going to work? Yes or no? Well, let's try it. That failure.
Because last name isn't an integer?
Last name is a dictionary. So there will be if everything's working right, there's going to be a key for each last name and a value that is the number of times that that last name has been used, seen. The problem here, though, is that here it's reading, it's looking for the key. In this case, what was it, McDonald? McDonald. My exasperation is caused by no matter what it is that I want to look at on screen, Zoom is doing something to cover it up. In this case, the closed captioning. All right, so we talked about this for project 3. We have to check first if the dictionary already has the key. And that would be if row last name is not in the last names, then we have to create the key. And this is going to create it. Notice on the right-hand side, we're not reading, we're simply writing the value 0 into the key held by the last name. That means on line 15, the key is guaranteed to already be there. And I can't see the bottom of my screen because of the Zoom stuff. I can't get there. Okay. So notice that this statement, line 23, still worked. There are 954 last names. All right, so I want to print out the frequency. So if I printed last names, that would be a giant, long printout. Okay. All right. So how many times did we find a Smith? How's that? No Smiths. Well, it's random data. You get Jones? There are 4 Joneses. So the Smiths are not keeping up with the Joneses, obviously. Let's see. If I put in Lester, I should get the value 2. Let's put in Lester. And I spelled it wrong. We should get the value 2. And there it is. We get the value 2.
I have a quick question.
Please.
It keeps saying last name is undefined for me, and I've tried to like find my mistake, but I can't seem to find it.
Is it possible that sometimes you spelled it last name and sometimes you spelled it last names? Is that what it is?
I can try and run it again.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know why it keeps saying that it's not.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll stop sharing, and then
Okay.
if you're willing, you can show us.
Yeah, I can do that. Okay. Can you see everything?
Yep. I
Okay.
see everything. And the red line
Mm-hmm.
is under each occurrence of capital letters last name. And if you start run your gaze upward, you'll see that you are missing the line that said last name equals 1.
Like right above it.
Actually, it could be above line 3. So line 2, for example.
There we go. Okay, that's what I was missing.
Good.
Thank you.
Right. You're welcome. And the reason why I suggested that you create that variable is so that when you see row and then brackets and 1, it's like, I don't remember. What is that? Is 1, I don't know, student ID number? No. By creating this variable here, you're giving a symbolic name. You're giving meaning to column number 1. Okay. All right. Now, tell you what, let's produce some reports. I'd like to know how many individuals are marked as male and how many are marked as female. There's no, it is strictly binary in the Carthage database. So I reflected that here. It is strictly binary. And you have my apologies if that is not you. So how do you think we could do that? How do you think we can count? Maybe I'll make a subroutine, a function here. Def gender report. Okay. And I'll fill that in later. So that's what the word pass is for. Something you'll fill in later. All right, so down here, I want to call the gender report. And that's supposed to somehow print the number of males and females. Okay. So now, how do we track the number of males and females? Let's take a look at our data. Let's find where it would be. Let's see. So this is going to be 0. Is this still readable? Is it too small? Okay. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So column index 3 is gender in this data. So let's go here. And let's do, so it's column 3. Now I don't have to remember it's 3. What kind of data structure do you think we could use for gender? I want to keep track of a count. Well, isn't it what we really want to do is count the number of M's and the number of F's? And we could do that with a dictionary, right? So let's do that up here. We'll make a we'll make it a dictionary, and we'll pre-fill it out since there are so few. So there's a key of F with a count of 0 and a key of M with a count of 0. So with respect to gender, I don't need this line anymore. And actually, if I wanted to be really good about error checking, I'll do something different. So hang on. How about this? So if the row gender not in gender info. So what happens if we find something that we're not expecting? Anybody? We'll print unexpected value for gender. And that value is, let's not only shall we let the user know that it was unexpected, we should also let them know what it is that we found. So row gender. Now we're in a for loop. If we want to skip a line, how do we do that? When you're inside of a loop and you want to skip to the next iteration, how do you do that? Okay, it's a keyword.
Break.
Break
Break.
will exit the loop. So it's the other word.
Pass.
Pass
Continue?
means continue. Pass means I needed a line of code and I haven't written it yet, so I put in pass, just pass this by. All right, so continue. Okay. Then if we get here, it means that the row subgender is something we were expecting. Just say row. No, that's not right. Gender info. And which one is the what we found in the file? Plus equals 1. Okay, and then for now, I'll just very quick do this. I'll say print gender info. Let's see if that works. Okay, so that raw test does work. I got 1797 female, 1203 male. Once again, that's random. The way I designed it, there should have been an equal chance male and female. So it's random. Let's make it a prettier report. Breakdown by self-identified gender. Anybody have any ideas how they want it to look? What did we learn how to do from the histogram? We learned project. We learned how to make this into a percentage. So why don't we print out the raw number and the percentage? Okay. All right, so how about we do female, and we should give it a specific number of spaces. Anybody remember how to do that? Because I want to make everything line up nicely. Okay, so
Take a shot at it.
go ahead.
I think it's the wiggly bracket with, I don't know, we're doing the percentage.
But first we want to put out the word corresponding to the gender before printing out the numbers. But
Okay.
I want to make that in a fixed size of characters. So that would be colon, let's say 10.
Okay.
And so that would be
Do you have to put the type?
Sure, let's put that in. 10s for string.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let's check this first. I wrote a little, let's check it a little. Okay, well, that's pretty good so far. Kind of right. All right, let's keep going. So next I want to put in the absolute number. So let's say in 8 spaces. And that would be an integer. And then how about a percentage? So that would be 0.2. Yeah.
Why is integer D?
That's historical.
Okay.
For D for decimal, but I think Python also implements I. Well, we'll find out in a minute, won't we?
Okay.
And this would be gender info F. And you know what? I've run out of room here. All right, I'll just let it wrap. And gender info F divided by the total. I got that wrong. Let's put back the D. All right. So I see 2 things here that I don't like. The first one being the percentage. How do I fix that? .6. It's not 0.6%.
Times 100.
Okay, good. All right, test it again. I want to test my changes. So 59.9%. And the other thing I don't like is the alignment of 1797. I'd actually like it, it looks like it's aligned on the right. I'd like to make it aligned on the left. How do I do that?
Using the less than symbol?
Yes, good. Where should I put it?
By the 8D?
Perfect. Okay, let's try that. Good. All right, so let's get in a second line. And all right, now let's see what we've got. There, we've generated a so-called gender report. Okay, anybody have any questions? So in this report generating type of program, once again, you have these phases. You have a phase of gathering the data and building the data structures. And then you have a phase of perhaps interactively reporting or not interactively reporting. Okay, now let's try to do something more sophisticated. How about, I got it. How about for every last name, we put together a list of all the first names associated with it. So this might be the very first time that we put another data structure inside of a data structure. So we've got, what I'm talking about is we have the dictionary where the keys are last names. And I want the value to be a list of first names that correspond to the last name. So that's pretty interesting because we have a dictionary, and that's a Python data structure. And the key is going to be a string, the last name, but then the value is going to be a list. That's pretty interesting. So it's a one data structure inside of another data structure. Okay. So let's see. We've got already we have a dictionary that has last names in it. So how would I like to do this? I'm going to keep both the count. No. Yeah, well, let's just do first names. So instead of, we'll put and we want to keep those unique. So we'll put a set inside the dictionary. So if it's not there, if the last name is not there, then we create the last name and have it mapped to an empty set. Therefore, we can then say add. And what are we going to add? I believe that the last name, the first name is column 2. So we'll add row first name with an E. Okay. So by putting one data structure inside another, we might have Jones is the key, and that maps to a list of Fred, Mary, and Bob. Okay, so do you have anybody have any trouble with the concept of putting one data structure inside of another data structure? Okay. So remember that a dictionary just maps a key to a value. We didn't say what form the value takes. The value could be other data structures. So instead of mapping to a number, in this case, we're mapping to a list. So let's write that code. Or in this case, it's a set. Sorry, I misspoke. Okay, so let's create another report. And we'll tell it which last name to look up. Okay, that's a parameter. Which last name to look up. And let's first verify that the last name is present. Oh, this is going to be interesting. We're about to learn a lesson, another lesson in Python. Last name not in last names. This will just be a pass. No, put something in. This is temporary. Okay, so there's the first name report, the beginnings of it. Let's call it now. First name report, and which about compost? I know that's in there. Okay, let's try that. Oh, good. Last name was found. All right, so let's continue with the report. Print. Let's make it nice and pretty. Okay. Oh, no, it's not a count. Last name. So last name, and we'll have it say yields these first names. Eh. Okay, so let's talk about this code. So last names is that dictionary that has a key for every last name. So for compost, last names compost is a set. So F name is going to get the value of each first name found in last names sub last name. Okay, so maybe a picture would help. So think of it like this. Here's last names, plural, and that has several keys. And then that has a set of Abe, Mary, Barbara. And then that has a set and then that has, maybe there's another Abe, maybe there's Abe Jones. Right, so this is not kind of a hierarchy. Last names contains keys of Compost Smith Jones and the other last names. Each one of those is a set of the corresponding first names.
It's like nesting dolls.
It's exactly like nesting dolls.
Mm.
Well, not quite exactly, because when you
Right.
nest dolls, each each doll is inside of another doll.
Right.
And-
There's just one, but like,
Well,
so
what's
the whole
different
thing
here?
is last names, and then when you open up last names, there's Campos, Smith, and Jones, and then when you open up Campos, there's Abe, Mary, and Barbara in there,
Right,
etc.
right. So today you've seen how to open a CSV file. Well, you've seen how to open a file and then how to interpret it as CSV. And that's given here. I used with open as the input file. By virtue of having used the with, as soon as this code block is over, the file the file closes. But then with the open file, I'm going to pass it through the CSV reader package. So now I'm able to look at the row of data and pull out individual fields. And I'm using that to build up data structures that I can use to build reports or perhaps do other calculations. Okay. So for instance, I might assign a project to you a little later that says, draw me a bar graph of the GPAs found in the art history major. Right? So the Python code is going to allow you to build up this data structure, which can represent correlations between one field and another. In this case, the building up of a data structure that lets you visualize the distribution of GPAs within a particular major. So I don't know if you can sense this, but now we're just getting to the point where you'll be able to start doing interesting things in your own major, your own discipline.
I have a question.
Please.
Does the order that the first names print out matter? Because mine printed out in a different order than yours did.
Let's see. You also got Cody, Mary, and Kayla?
Yes, but mine printed out in the order Kayla, Cody, Mary.
Okay. Sets don't have an order, right? Because if you think about it, a set can only represent is something present or not. What if you wanted them to be sorted? Let's go up here, the first name report. So if you wanted those names sorted, you could create first names, make a list out of the set. And then you can sort them. You remember how to, what function we can call to get sorted? Things sorted? Anybody? That is a white horse question.
Sorted.
Yep. Okay, now let's try that. That's interesting. Am I not? Oh, yeah, I didn't finish. So the first name in the sorted list. Yeah. Okay, so now it's the same each time.
And then I have a question about this that we've done is taking the information from the CSV file. And we used reader.csv or whatever we imported. But when we're doing the project, that'll be a text file. And I remember we used readline or readlines before.
Correct. This is the usage of the CSV is not part of project 3.
Right. And
Right.
so in this one, did the reader in this one serve the same kind of idea as read line or read lines?
This is the sort of an analog to read line.
Okay.
So you see here, for each row in the reader,
Mhm.
Get one line, right? So each
Okay.
row is one line.
So the CSV dot reader is basically just read line.
Well, it's a way of processing data differently. It's sort of a filter on the data. So read line would read the actual text that's there.
Right.
But that actual text is being filtered through CSV Reader, which then splits the words apart based upon the commas.
Gotcha.
Okay. So we only have a few minutes left. What I'm going to do is make sure that you can get access to this. So let's see. How do you download the one file? Well, download a zip is going to get them all. No. They don't make it easy to get one file, do they? What would this do? Copy a link? Well, who knows what that does. So what I'm going to do after class ends is find a way to download this and then send it to you so that you can keep it as a memory. Oh boy. I think that caused a link to my whole REPL, which is not what I wanted. So I'll figure that out after class.
And then put it on Schoology?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Okay. So we kind of took a leap in complexity today. I understand that. Probably the biggest leap was this idea of putting data structures inside other data structures. Okay. But it's important to wrap your head around the idea so that you're able to build more and more sophisticated models of your data to answer more and more sophisticated questions. Okay, so I will see you on Thursday. I look forward to that. I'll be available for questions via email, and you can set meetings with me, though not today because Tuesdays and Thursdays are overwhelming for me. Okay, and I have a meeting I have to go to right now, so I've got to sign off quickly. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.